Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. One of my favorite combinations is dal, rice, and anything. Fried fish, veggies, anything like that. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing my recipe for this delicious Bunjal Dhal with fine fish. And the fine fish is Grammy's recipe, so I'm going to be sharing how we put that all together. So the first thing I want to do is start off on my pot of Bunjal Dhal. Now for anybody that doesn't know what Bunjal Dhal is, it is basically dal that you make and you make it like a curry. So it tastes a little bit different than the normal boiled dal. So in my plate here, I'm going to go ahead and add in my seasonings. I'm going to add in my curry powder. I love to use the Lala's brand, but you can use whatever brand you wish. I'm also going to be adding in a little bit of roasted ground geera or cumin, and I'm going to be going in with my homemade masala. The next thing we're going to do is go in with some fresh ingredients. So I'm going to have some crushed garlic on the side here, and I'm also going to be going in with my homemade green seasoning. Now, if you want to see how I make my green seasoning, I have it on my channel already. But basically, all it is some culantro or shadobeni. It has some thick leaf thyme. Sometimes I put some scallions in there. I add a little bit of hot pepper, and I put a little bit of onion once in a while as well. You can definitely mix it up and add whatever you wish into your green seasoning. And I'm just going to chop up a couple of wiri peppers or any kind of hot pepper of your choice, and I'm going to add it in here as well. Now, if you didn't want to chop it up, you could also just add in the pepper to boil with the dal as it's cooking. And at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and add in a little bit of water to create a nice thick paste. And I'm going to mix all of these ingredients together and we're ready to cook our Bunjal Dhal. So for this recipe, you want to make sure to use a nice heavy bottom pot. So I'm using my Dutch oven today and I'm going to go ahead and cover the bottom with some oil so we could start the cooking process. Once that oil heats up, I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle in some cumin seeds or geera. And while the geera is cooking up, I almost forgot, but I want to add in some dye or turmeric into my curry paste. And the reason why you want to do this is because since we're making dal, you want to make sure it has that nice yellow color still. You don't want it to be too dark. So once the geera gets dark brown in color and they start to sputter a little bit, we're going to go ahead and add in some chopped onion. Whenever I'm making dal, I do like to add in onion every once in a while. The only reason I wouldn't add an onion is if I was going to be letting this dal sit all day, like if I was making it for an event, because it tends to spoil easily when you add in the onions. But if we're just making it for the house, it's totally fine. You can add them in and fry them up until they're a little bit translucent. And at this point, I'm also going to go in with some chopped scallions. A very big tip that I have for you guys is to go ahead and buy a bunch of scallions from the grocery store. Chop them up and add them into your freezer. So this way, anytime you're cooking, you can just grab a handful and add them to your food. So my onions and my scallions have cooked up very well. At this point, I'm gonna go ahead and add in my curry paste. And what you wanna do is basically fry up the curry paste in the oil with the onions and the seasonings and allow this to dry down a bit. Once the curry paste starts to fry a bit, I'm gonna go ahead and add in my salt. And of course, this is salt to taste, and we can always adjust and add more later. So just add in a little bit for now to start flavoring the dish. So after about 5 to 6 minutes, you're gonna see that the mixture starts to stick a bit at the bottom. And at this point, it is time to add in our dal. Now this dal is just the regular yellow split peas that I washed very well until the water ran clear. I'm gonna add this in and I'm gonna stir it up very well. And like I said before, this is called Bunjal Dhal. So you need to bunje or fry up the dal with all of those spices until it starts to stick a little bit more. Now I wanted a little bit more freshness in this dish, so I'm going in with some extra green seasoning. This part is optional, but I like the flavor that it adds. So once this dal fries up or bunjes for a good 4 to 5 minutes and it dries up a bit, it's time to go in with water. Now I basically add in water until it's like 3/4 into the pot and covering the dal. So this way it has enough time to boil and make the dal nice and soft. And once you give everything a stir, you're gonna let it come up to a boil. And as you see, once it comes up to a boil, I'm gonna lower the heat to a medium heat. So this way it doesn't overboil and it allows the dal to get nice and soft without evaporating the water too much. Of course, throughout the process, if you have to add in more water, feel free to do so. So this right here is the halfway point of my Bunjal Dhal. As you all can see, it started to break down a little bit, but there's definitely still some grain left in the dal. And I like my dal a little more smooth than this. So I'm going to go ahead and take my dal gutney and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to swizzle it just a little bit to start breaking it up a little more. And I'm going to continue to let this simmer. So after about another 15 minutes, this is what it's looking like. Now for me, I like when my dal totally melts and it's very, very smooth. but my family actually likes when the dal is a little bit chunky and has a little bit of grain to it. So what I do is I go ahead and I cook it down, and once I see that there's only very fine chunks left in it, that's when I know it's done, and that's the way my family likes it. Once the dal is ready, we're gonna go ahead and chunkay it. So in a little skillet here, I've added in a little bit of oil, and once you get that oil in, you're gonna go ahead and add your cumin seeds or your geera, and you're gonna allow those to get nice and dark brown. Now once the cumin seeds get nice and dark brown, you're gonna go ahead and add in your thinly sliced garlic. The reason why I don't add in the garlic in the beginning with the geera is because the geera never tends to get brown enough when you add the garlic in at the same time. So I like to allow those to roast first. Once the geera and the garlic get a nice dark brown color, it's time to add it on top of your dal, and then you want to go ahead and cover it right away so it can lock in all of those beautiful flavors. And after you chunkay the dal, this is the beautiful dal that you're going to be left with. As you all can see, it has a slightly darker color than the normal regular boiled dal, but it's nice, it's thick, it's cooked down, and you can see all of the geera and the garlic floating on top. This right here is a very, very delicious kind of dal because of all the added flavor from the curry powder, the masala, and the green seasoning and all of that good stuff. So my recommendation here is to go ahead and serve it up. You can dip some roti in here, you can serve it over rice. Some people love to drink this out of a cup, but I'm going to go ahead and show you now how to make the fried fine fish that you can eat with this dal and some rice or some dal and roti. So to make the fried fine fish, or the smelts as some people would call it, you want to go ahead and get your fine fish. You want to wash it very well. And once you wash it very well, you're going to season with some salt to taste. I'm going in with some garlic and pepper paste, and we're going to go in with a little bit of curry powder as well. And the curry powder is what really gives it that nice flavor. And then my grandmother went ahead and soaked a little bit of tamarind, and that tamarind is going to add a nice little bite and a little sourness to it. And then of course she goes in with just a little bit of flour to help coat the fish as well. This is not going to be like a regular fried fish or like a fried meat where the flour is dusted on the outside. You want to mix it up so it creates somewhat of a batter with all of the moisture happening. You just want to go ahead and mix everything very well. If you wanted to, instead of the flour, you could also use some cornstarch to make it even crispier. So the good thing with this kind of fish, you do not have to fully deep fry it. My grandmother went ahead and just added in a good amount of oil to cover the bottom of the pan, and she's going to add the fish in a nice single layer. And we're going to go ahead and just leave this and not touch it for a good 6 to 7 minutes until it starts to dry up at the bottom a little bit and it is ready to flip. So once you see that the edges start to get nice and dark brown, you can go ahead and turn the fish. Now remember, you don't want to mess with it too much because these fish are also a little bit delicate. You have to make sure that the bottom dries down a little bit before you start to flip. Now I wanted to mention, if you're scared that you're going to break up the fish and it's not going to come out well if you haven't made this before, you can definitely add in some more oil to the bottom of the pot and deep fry it a little bit more so this way it has more space in the pot as well. But once you flip it and you let it cook for another 6 to 7 minutes on the next side and let it dry up and get dark brown and crispy, this right here is what you're going to be left with. So I really hope you enjoyed this video today for my Bunjal Dhal and my fried smelts or fried fine fish. These two dishes right here are perfect served over a nice steaming plate of rice. Of course you can eat it with roti, you can add some bhaji into the mix, some other green veggies, but it's very quick, very simple, and of course very delicious. I hope you enjoyed. Please give this video a nice big thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you're not subscribed yet, and of course drop those comments down below, and I'll be seeing you guys again very soon with a new video.